So I wanted to make this video. I just came out of a session with a private client, and she just asked a really good question. And I want to take the opportunity and answer that question for whoever is seeing this video. So her specific problem is that one side, and this is a problem that many people have, that one side of the hip is higher than the other. Oh, and we're lying on our backs. She's trying to, and I say, find your pelvis and where are your hip bones? And it's like, that hip is more up. So let's say, just for example, oh yeah, my left hip is higher, it's tighter. And just to reiterate, also to share her, she has always had issues with her right knee. So let's say left hip is higher and her right knee has been hurting her, and she's had a lot of trouble weight bearing on the right side, and using squatting, bending the knee to over a certain degree. And there's also a pelvic floor instability. So the left side being the tighter side, and the right side being the looser side. So the left side of her pelvic floor is always a little tighter. The right side is a little looser. And generally, how I would have approached this maybe 10 years ago, I would say, well, we're going to stretch your left side. You know, the left side is tighter. We'll just have to make her catch up what the right side does. Over the years, though, I've noticed that and learned from my wonderful teachers that stretching the tighter side, stretching muscles in general is not a good idea because muscles generally want to contract. A muscle does not just want to be loosey-goosey. Muscles get the information, bend, contract, shorten. That is the information the brain gives to your muscles. And then if one side is really strong and can contract, or is tight, and I'll get to that, why it is tight, the other side has a hard time. If I'm just doing a lot of bicep curls, let's say, and I'm not really ever emphasizing my triceps, or as well mindfully exercising what the triceps does, eventually your elbow won't extend anymore properly. You might not even get to ever a straight elbow. A lot of men, I feel like, that are doing lots of this kind of thing, lots of weights and just bicep curling. And then when you say, oh, well, what, straighten your arm, and it's like here, and then everything is done here. But that's another issue. So muscles can only be tight if the other side lets them be tight. So like the biceps and the triceps example. Now for the case of the pelvis, and I've had that myself, like my right side would always feel really tight. And then I would get the cue from my teachers, classes I've been taking, oh, well, you should stretch that right side more. Just really tight there. Stretch your psoas and stretch your, go hang that leg down and just stretch it out. It never really resulted into anything, but kind of a lot of uncomfortable feelings in, oh my God, it's so tight. Oh, I need to stretch it. And when I realized that side was actually overstretched, it was too long. And now I want to come into why would you feel tight if you're actually not tight? And this is a bit of a trick that the brain is playing with us. Generally, we have to understand that the brain, let's call it the subcortical, the subconscious, not really subconscious, but the brain that evaluates primarily, am I safe or am I not safe? This is we have the thinking brain where we can say consciously, oh, I want to do this. And then there is the part of the brain that is just 24/7 saying, is this a good situation? Am I going to be safe? Is there danger? Do I need to run? Do I need to hide? Do I need to fight? So the fight, flight, or freeze assessment. And that's the brain we can't really talk to. It's not something we say, oh, well, just calm down a bit. You know, this is deep, and this is primal, and it's always right, because we're still here because we have that brain that makes us feel like, oh, I better hide right now because there's the saber-toothed tiger, or I better run, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So with that brain evaluating every aspect of your body, I call it mission control. It's like this is in charge. Let's say we're spraining an ankle. And what is spraining an ankle? It's a stretching of the ligaments or tendons. Ligaments are collagenous things, and I'll show this maybe. Let's say ligaments in your foot, in your ankle, it's that white stuff right here. Ligaments in your knee, it's the white stuff here. That's actually connecting bone to bone. The tendon is connecting muscle to bone. Muscle does not directly attach to your bone. There's always this white collagenous, it's kind of like nail or hair. It doesn't have a lot of give. This collagenous substance that creates hold. And if you look actually at, let's say, the sacrum, it's wow, tons of ligaments here to hold things together. Lots of ligaments here to hold your thigh bone in the hip socket. There's ligaments here. There's ligaments elbow. So, but you can see the big part is here in the pelvis. And let's say, for our example, for the hip, like right here. And so they're creating the stability. And then we have our tendons that connect the muscle to the bone. They create stability. What moves really is the muscle. Ligaments should not be, you know, they can't expand and contract like a muscle. They're just there to stabilize. Now, if we have a history of stretching, which most of us do because we all followed the you got to be flexible craze and the messaging. Maybe you were a dancer in the past, maybe you did gymnastics and had to create postures and shapes that judges would evaluate, you know, and you were trained to be flexible. And you went through a stretching regimen, or you did power yoga or Bikram, especially like the hot, guess what happens to hot hair, right? So that we actually busted our ligaments, we overstretched or hurt our ligaments. Now what happens is, if I don't have that connection, that protection, that tightness in the ligaments, now the brain says, whoa, that subcortical, wow, there's too much mobility. But since we can't activate tendons and ligaments, like we can say, okay, muscle bend, the brain comes in and tightens something. You know, it's always safer to be tighter than to be loose. If I'm losing my arm, you know, I'd rather walk around like this, although that's not very attractive, maybe, or functional or good for you. So something around the joint, and that could be coming from your obliques, that could be coming from the glutes, that could be coming from the quadratus, psoas, that could make your knee wonky. So that is a whole nother can of worms we can open another time. So you are looser in one aspect of the hip, but another aspect is tighter. The brain says, hold. And now we're going in and say, well, I'm always so tight on this side. Why am I so tight? So let's actually bring the things that are too loose closer together. And the tighter side will lengthen automatically. So I don't have to say I'm going to stretch my left side because it feels tighter, but I'm going to decrease range on my right side. I hope I'm still making sense. This is a lot of information. So right side is the knee problem. Right side is the looser hip, the longer, it's the tighter hip, but the longer waist. So that hip always feels a little more down when she stands, when she lies on her back. It's always like that right hip is longer. So we are approximating, we're bringing that right hip bone a little bit more to the right shoulder. And all of a sudden, pelvis is aligned. I'm not even stretching the left side because muscles don't want to be stretched. I am toning the longer side. And now have her do side legs, squats, footwork, whatever we would want to do with the emphasis of the tone. And then we can even say, can I do a little bit of hip hiking? Can I side bend mindfully and pull the muscles closer? And that will over time mitigate, it will lengthen the left side. And then we can come in actually with pelvic floor strengthening and other things. But it will, in my experience, in my opinion, it will, in the long term, solve the knee issue. I have more support. It's not so loose. The knee can track better. I can really pay attention. The brain feels the knee is much better aligned in the hip socket with your pelvis. And that can then over time heal her knee because she's not in pain. It's when she's moving, when she's squatting, she can keep alignment better. And it's not just by placing her knee in a different direction. Yes, that too, but finding the support from the hip where the leg really hangs out of. If we think about the hip is really so important because the legs are hanging out of the hip and the spine grows out of the hip. So if this is off, if something is not right here, it can't be right here, or it most likely won't be right here, or won't be right here. It's all connected. This is just the skeleton with the tendon, with the ligaments. But if we look at the muscles, they all, through fascia, connect with each other. So I hope this makes sense. We're not stretching the tight side. We are shortening, we're toning the longer side. And it's not going to make us shorter because the work we do in Pilates and slow core is always with an emphasis of back and front body realignment. But if one side is too long, the brain can't really connect. It'll always make something else tighter. And the short side is futile stretching because muscles always want to contract. So I'm shortening, I'm strengthening the long side, I'm leaving the short side almost be. And yeah, that's usually doing the trick. I hope this makes sense. It was a lot of information. If you have a question, please let me know. I hope you found this interesting. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.